जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। जशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन जमुनातीरावनचारे जमुनातीरावनचारे जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Purvijagacharya Ashtotar Sadis Divine Grace Vaishnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Purvijagacharya Ashtotar Sadis Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Granth-raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Daivim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, Text 23 and 24. So first I'll go through 23, then we come to 24. mṛṇāla-gaurāyata-śeṣa-bhoga paryaṅka ekam puruṣaṁ śayānam phaṇātapatrāyuta-mūrdha-ratna dyubhir hata-dhvānta-yugānta-toye mṛṇāla-gaurāyata-śeṣa-bhoga paryaṅka ekam puruṣam śayānam phaṇātapatrāyuta-mūrdha-ratna dyubhir hata-dhvānta-yugānta-toye. Please repeat the word to word meaning. mṛṇāla, lotus flower. Gaura, white all over. Āyata, gigantic. Śeṣa-bhoga, body of Śeṣa-nāga. Paryaṅke, on the bed. Ekam, alone. Puruṣam, the Supreme Person. śayānam, was lying. phaṇātapatrāyuta, umbrella of a serpent hood. āyuta, bedecked with. mūrdha, head. ratna, jewels. dyubhir, by the rays. hata-dhvānta, darkness dissipated. yuga-anta, devastation. Toye, in the water. Translation: Brahma could see that on the water there was a gigantic lotus-like white bedstead, the body of Śeṣa-nāga, on which the personality of Godhead was lying alone. The whole atmosphere was illuminated by the rays of the jewels bedecking the hood of Śeṣa-nāga, and that illumination dissipated all the darkness of those regions. Please repeat after me. Brahma could see that on the water there was a gigantic lotus-like white bedstead, the body of Śeṣa-nāga, on which the personality of Godhead was lying alone. The whole atmosphere was illuminated by the rays of the jewels bedecking the hood of Śeṣa-nāga, and that illumination dissipated all the darkness of those regions. Now text 24. Prekṣāṁ kshipantam haritopaladre sandhyabhra niver urukrama mūrdhanah ratnodadharaushadhi saumanasya vanasrajo venu bhujangripangrihe prekṣāṁ kshipantam haritopaladre prekṣāṁ kshipantam haritopaladre sandhyabhra ururukma mūrdhanah sandhyabhra ururukma mūrdhanah ratnodadharaushadhi saumanasya ratnodadharaushadhi saumanasya वनश्रजो वेणुभुजाङ्घ्रिपाङ्ग्रेः वनश्रजो वेणुभुजाङ्घ्रिपाङ्ग्रेः प्रेक्षां क्षिपन्तं हरितोपलाद्रे सन्ध्याभ्रनिवेरुरुक्ममूर्ध्नः रत्नो ददारौषधि सौमनस्य वनश्रजो वेणुभुजाङ्घ्रिपाङ्ग्रेः प्रेक्षां क्षिपन्तं हरितोपलाद्रे सन्ध्याभ्रनिवेरुरुक्ममूर्ध्नः रत्नो ददौरौषधि सौमनस्य वनश्रजो वेणुभुजाङ्घ्रिपाङ्ग्रेः. Please chant. Mataji's. Puruṣaṁ śipantam haritāpayāmi sandhyābraniverurukamūrdha रत्नोदरौषधि सौमनस्य वनश्रजो वेणुभुजाङ्घ्रिपाङ्ग्रेः. Word to word meaning. Preksham, the panorama. Kshipantam, deriding. Harita, green. Upala, coral. Adre, of the hell. Sandhya abra nivehe, of the dress of the evening sky. Uru, great. Rukma, gold. Mūrdhnaha, on the summit. Ratna, jewels. Udadhara, waterfalls. Aushadhi, herbs. Saumanasya, of the scenery. Vanashrajaha, flower garland. Venu, dress. Bhuja, hands. Angripa, trees. Angrehe, legs. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. The lustre of the transcendental body of the Lord mocked the beauty of the coral mountain. The coral mountain is very beautifully dressed by the evening sky, but the yellow dress of the Lord mocked its beauty. There is gold on the summit of the mountain, but the Lord's helmet, bedecked with jewels, mocked it. The mountain's waterfalls, herbs, etc., with a panorama of flowers, seem like garlands, but the Lord's gigantic body and His hands and legs, decorated with jewels, pearls, tulsi leaves, and flower garlands, mocked the scene on the mountain. Purport. The panoramic beauty of nature, which strikes one with wonder, may be taken as a perverted reflection of the transcendental body of the Lord. One who is therefore attracted by the beauty of the Lord is no longer attracted by the beauty of material nature, although he does not minimize its beauty. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.59, it is described that one who is attracted by Param, the Supreme, is no longer attracted by anything inferior. Please repeat the translation after me. The luster of the transcendental body of the Lord mocked the beauty of the coral mountain. The coral mountain is very beautifully dressed by the evening sky, but the yellow dress of the Lord mocked its beauty. There is gold on the summit of the mountain, but the Lord's helmet, bedecked with jewels, mocked it. The mountain's waterfalls, herbs, etc., with a panorama of flowers, seemed like garlands, but the Lord's gigantic body and his hands and legs, decorated with jewels, pearls, tulsi leaves, and flower garlands, mocked the scene on the mountain. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is text number 23 and 24. The conversation that is going on currently is between Vidura and Maitreya. As we know, Srimad Bhagavatam is a conversation within a conversation within a conversation, different levels of conversation. So right now, Vidura and Maitreya, they are having a discussion. It is amazing to also note that Vidura is such a personality that when he saw a situation wherein he was not only being disrespected, but he was seeing that his post was going to make him follow the path of adharma, he resigned. It was Duryodhan who, we see this in the first canto, Duryodhan insults Vidura and says that whom are you loyal to? He questions his loyalty. And that time Vidura, instead of arguing with Duryodhan or trying to establish his position, although who is Duryodhan in front of him, he takes it as an opportunity for spiritual growth. He takes it as an opportunity for spiritual advancement. And then chucks his weapons and takes an about turn and moves for Tirtha Yatra. And when that sincere desire is there to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then the Lord arranges for a personality who can lead us back to Him. This is Guru Tattva in essence. And thus, Vidura, he meets his spiritual master, which is Maitreya. Some qualities of Maitreya, which we find, which are there in this third canto, is that Maitreya, he is very learned. He is also very appreciative of Vidura's questions and inquiries. And he is honest. He mentions that I have described whatever I understand and I could assimilate. Maitreya says that my speech will only be be pure if I utilize it in glorification of the topics of the Supreme Lord. And he becomes enlivened when he gets the opportunity to share about the Supreme Lord's pastimes and activities. In the same way, Vidura also is a very ideal hearer. He inquires very faithfully to Maitreya. He is asking very purposeful questions. Actually, the previous chapter we saw, chapter 7, we are saying is basically Vidura's inquiries to Maitreya. In fact, the manner in which Vidura inquires is also so pleasing that Maitreya becomes very pleased and then enthusiastically answers the questions also. So we learn also how to inquire from Vidura. Vidura is also asking questions about the Lord's incarnations. He asks about the Purusha avtaras, Leela avtaras. He is asking questions for the benefit of humanity. In fact, he is also establishing sambandha by first asking if a person who is engrossed materialistically, so what about him? What about him? So this is how Vidura he starts his inquiries also. In fact, he says that any subject matter that is not discussing the Supreme Lord, it does not give satisfaction. He is glorifying Maitreya Rishi. In fact, he is saying Maitreya Rishi is one of those devotees who travel just to deliver those who are ignorant. And thus we see that Vidura also is absorbed. Vidura is the same personality to whom Lord Krishna chose to go to his house and not to Duryodhana's house. He rejected Duryodhana's Rajbhog for banana peels offered by Vidura and Vidurani. So this is the quality of devotees who, through the dint of their love for the Supreme Lord, conquer his heart and thus are glorified. In this particular chapter, which is manifestation of Brahma from Garbhodakshai Vishnu, we see that in the beginning of this chapter, for the first 9 verses, what is established is the disciplic succession, wherein Maitreya is acknowledging Vidura, because in the previous chapter, Vidura is asking these questions. So Maitreya is beginning with that you are from the Puru dynasty and you are very glorious, because all the members of this dynasty, they are all special devotees. He says pure devotees. In fact, he also gives answer to one of the questions that Vidura is asking in the previous chapter as to, for those who are engrossed in material ignorance and material activities, how can they get satisfaction? And then Maitreya Rishi is replying, Soham drinam kshula sukhaya dukkham mahadgatanam viramya tasya pravardyate bhagavatam puranam yadaha sakshat bhagavan rishibhyaha. He is saying that for those who are engrossed in so much materialistic activities, for a little bit of sukha, kshanik sukha, for them I am now reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Maitreya's answer. When Vidura is asking the question that what is it for those who are fully absorbed in material activities, for a little bit of pleasure, how will they get delivered and relieved? So then Maitreya is answering, it is by the recitation of the Srimad Bhagavatam, by the hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, somehow in our lives also we see that we are engaged in so many activities, but where is the happiness and pleasure? It is only in the anticipation. But the more we are hearing in association the Srimad Bhagavatam, the scriptures, and doing Shravanam Kirtanam, that much we can experience, anybody can experience a transcendental kind of a pleasure, a transcendental kind of happiness. So this is like the medicine. Bhau aushadhi shotra manobhiramat. So this is the medicine. So sometimes, when we feel in life that, oh, why am I still, I took up devotional life, I am taking up devotional service. Still, there is so much of anxiety and so much of misery. Still, why am I not still happy? And then the answer is, we need to increase the dose. ahead, so Maitreya Rishi is mentioning about how he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam. Maitreya Rishi says that originally, out of the 4 Kumaras, Sanat Kumar, he goes to Lord Sankarshana, who is residing below Patal Loka, to hear about the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Lord Sankarshana, who is absorbed in meditation on Lord, he opens his eyes and he is answering the questions of Sanat Kumar. So Sanat Kumar heard from Sankarshana. Then from Sanat Kumar, from the Kumaras, the parampara flows through Sankhyayana Muni. From Sankhyayana Muni to Parashar, who is the spiritual master of Maitreya Rishi. So in this way, this is the Bhagavad parampara which is flowing. So Maitreya Rishi establishes that this is where I got my knowledge from. Again, this indicates the importance of hearing from bona fide source. Even when Maitreya was questioned, he just didn't get into answering Vidura's questions. He establishes his source of knowledge. And then after establishing this, he goes back to discussing about the description of the reawakening of the creation and after the end of the night of Brahma. So then he is mentioning that how when the universe is submerged in the dissolution waters, so it is Garbhodakshai Vishnu who is lying, and within his body then all the elements, the entire creation basically goes back into the Lord. The material elements and the jivas, the gross bodies, they merge into the material elements, whereas the souls and the karmas, they remain. Now this is during partial annihilation. When there is complete annihilation, then it is different. Because this is at the end of Brahma's each day. Brahma, his one day is equal to 1,000 Divya Yugas. That means 1,000 cycles of Satya, Dwapar, Treta and Kali. So that's Brahma's one day. And an equal amount of years constitutes his night. And that is when the Lord, that is the night. And then now next day again, again Brahma starts the process again. So then the next part is Brahma's birth and search for the absolute truth. So the Lord, because he impregnates just through his glance and sets into motion the material creation and the material energy. And then from his navel comes out a lotus flower on which Brahma, he appears. So Brahma is self-born, Swayam Bhuvam. So Brahma, when he comes, he is confused because he is not able to see anything except darkness. And in searching for his source, it is mentioned here that he obtains 4 heads because of seeing in the 4 directions, trying to search in the 4 directions. And so Brahma, he is not able to understand the creation, neither himself. He thinks that he must have a source. And thus he goes into the lotus flower, trying to search what is his origin. So he's entering the lotus stem and goes closer to the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, but he is unable to see or trace out the root. A practical lesson that we learn from this is that personal endeavors may not necessarily get success, especially in the spiritual field. Here we see that Brahma, although he is trying so hard, he was unable to figure out. And then Brahma's life duration is decreasing, giving up his unsuccessful search. Brahma, he goes back on top of the lotus, and now he is concentrating his mind on the Lord. And after meditating for 100 years, he is able to see the Lord in his heart, which was not possible earlier. So this is surrender. In this way, Brahma is self-surrendering, which has been inspired by the Lord's mercy. And thus then Brahma is able to see the Supreme Personality, who is lying on the gigantic white body of Ananta-Shesh. And the jewels on the heads of Ananta-Shesh are illuminating all the directions. That was the 23rd verse. And then in this particular verse, it is described, there is a comparison between the natural elements or natural scenery that we see and the Lord's form. In fact, the comparison is made in such a way that it is mentioned that the natural beauty that exists, nature, hills, mountains, coral mountain, like it is mentioned, the bodily luster of the Lord, it mocks the coral mountain. A mountain of corals would be something very effulgent, very bright, very beautiful. And the way in which it is mentioned, it mocks. That means it's nothing. It's nothing as compared to the bodily luster of the Lord. The yellowish garments, they mock the evening sky. The Lord's Pitambar Vastras, they mock the beauty of the evening sky. And his helmet that is bedecked with jewels, it mocks the golden summit of the mountain. And his limbs with ornaments, tulsi and garlands, they mock the mountains with waterfalls, herbs, etc. So in this way the Lord's beauty is described. The primary theme of this particular verse is the wonderful darshan of the Lord. And it is so that, of course, ahead we will see ahead, that the Lord is also compared to a sandalwood tree. Just like there is the Lord is resting on Ananta-Shesh, who is a big gigantic snake. A sandalwood tree also you will find it is covered with snakes. The Lord is the shelter of all the living entities, all that is there in the creation. In the same way, the tree is shelter for other living entities who call it home. And the limbs of the Lord, the decorations, the jewels that are there on the limbs of the Lord are compared to the sandalwood branches and the leaves that are there on the sandalwood tree. So in this way the Lord's beauty is compared. In fact, ahead it will also be compared that to a great mountain, Garbhodakshai Vishnu will be compared. And Brahmā in this way, when he takes darshan of the Lord, he is so moved that then he starts praying, and that is the next chapter, which is Brahmā's prayers for creative energy. So he is glorifying the Lord, and then he will pray for creative impetus, that the Lord can inspire him. Then he will start the process of creation. The wonderful darshan of the Lord in this canto itself, in the third canto, at different places, it is glorified. The wonderful darshan. The Lord's darshan is such that once one develops a taste, one gets this special mercy of developing the taste for taking darshan of the Lord. After that, mundane material tastes become insignificant. We find that happens to us, that when, for a materialistic person, when they travel to different places, then they want to go for sightseeing. And they are very much engrossed in clicking pictures and posting them on social media. Sometimes we find that there is news that people, they on the edge of the valleys or near the ocean or the sea or in a water body, they are clicking their selfies and they get washed over and people die also. So much they have an attraction to pose with something that is beautiful. In fact, many times in our preaching work also, when we meet people, we are trying to convince them to take up Krishna conscious life. So if they have been to Vrindavan once, they will say, I have already been there. It's like, it's for them, it's like visiting a place one time and they have seen what is there to be seen. It's a closed chapter. It's like that. We already visited. Sometimes we tell people, I've personally I've invited people to Mayapur. So they say, we will come to see the big temple when it opens. They say like that. It's more of what they are getting through the visual, through visual imagery and through a visual representation, what they are able to see, what they are able to devour visually. It's more about that. Sightseeing, it's like that. It is amazing that sometimes we don't realize this, but as we take up the process of devotional life and we go ahead, then even if we are invited to see something that is wonderful in the mundane sense, you still don't feel it's amazing. You don't feel that it is something that is outstanding, which is more than the beauty that is there of the Lord. We practically can see that there are many devotees who would prefer to attend Darshanarti or who'd prefer to attend Mangalarti than just roam around to just for sightseeing at a place. There are devotees who in our movement who can actually boast of not even missing Mangalarti in the temples that they are from. So that kind of taste is developed to the point that now, just some kind of panoramic view, just like this word is there, puruṣaṁ, it means panorama. A panoramic view, a beautiful view of scenery. It is insignificant. And for a mundane materialist, they may think, you're seeing the same form of the Lord every day. What is so amazing in that? Every day darshanarti, every day mangalarti is the same thing that you are seeing. But it's amazing to see that how even those who are engaged in pujari seva, they also when they see the Lord who is dressed in a certain way, then they are observing intricately the details of which color suits. During darshanarti, this is the meditation. Many pujaris, then they discuss like this, and they are discussing about how the pleats of the Lord's dhoti are falling in what way. How the dresses of Radharani and the gopis, in what way, what could have been better. They are discussing about color combinations. And in this way we find that there is a higher taste. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, he quotes Param Drishtva Nivartante, 2.59 Bhagavad Gita. He says, when there is a higher taste, the lower taste for sense objects becomes insignificant. And in this way we can see that how through this process of devotional life, the mundane tastes become insignificant more and more, which is similar to what the verse is also mentioning. And this we can feel ourselves also as we advance and we continue in this process of devotional life. Sometimes it is good to reflect on these aspects, and then thus we can check that the process is working or not. Am I advancing in the right direction? The Lord's darshan, even Uddhava in this same canto, third canto, he also is glorifying. He says the Lord's darshan is like ornament of ornaments. He says the Lord's darshan is such that it makes the ornaments look beautiful. Sometimes my Yashoda, she has this feeling that if Krishna wears all these beautiful ornaments, bracelets, earrings, he wears a waist belt, if he wears like this and goes outside, then he will attract the eyes of thieves. Sometimes she also thinks that, they keep, the gopis, they used to keep the butter hidden and in a dark place. And Krishna and Balaram, with their ornaments, they used to come inside the room, and the effulgence from their own bodies and the ornaments used to make the room so bright that they used to see the butter that was hidden. And so then Maya Yashoda once thought of removing the ornaments from Krishna. And then of course, when she did not make him wear ornaments, then she also felt that something is incomplete. She changes her mind. But that description is there also, and Uddhava also makes it, that the Lord's body is such that it gives beauty to the ornaments. Normally, we ornament ourselves, or a person ornaments themselves to look more beautiful than what they actually are. But Krishna's beauty is such that it makes the ornaments look beautiful. Uddhava says about the Lord's lotus face, also he says, in fact he says that when the demigods, when they see the Lord's form, so this happens in the Rajasuya sacrifice, when all the demigods arrive, and there it is decided that Lord Krishna will be the personality who will be glorified in the Rajasuya Yajna. So when the demigods, they see the form of the Lord, they conclude that the most dexterous of Brahma's creation, the most beautiful of Brahma's creation is standing right before us. This is what they conclude. So Uddhava says that the demigods feel that the most beautiful in Brahma's creation is Krishna. Then Uddhava says, but they are wrong, because Krishna is the one who is the creator of Brahma, not otherwise. And the most amazing thing about the Lord's beauty is about in the Kurukshetra war, the mercy aspect also along with the Lord's beautiful darshan comes into picture. Tathaiva chanye naraloka veera yada ahave krishna mukhara vindam netre pibanto nayana bhiramam parthasta puta padam apurasya. So in this particular verse, Tathaiva chanye naraloka veera, all the warriors on the battle of Kurukshetra, when they were fighting, either side, so Uddhava makes this statement, all of them were delivered by the Supreme Lord, taken back home back to Godhead. Taken back home back to Godhead. So one may question, how come the warriors who were fighting against Arjuna, those who were fighting on the side of the Pandavas were doing Vaishnava Seva, we can understand. But how is it that those who were fighting on the side of the Kauravas, how come they were delivered? So what was happening was, in the purport Srila Prabhupada explains, that when they were looking at Krishna, he is on the chariot, he is driving Arjuna's chariot on the battlefield. Those who are on the side, who are fighting against Pandavas, who are on the side of the Kauravas, they are obviously opposing Krishna, so they are facing him. While fighting, if they had some kind of appreciation or attraction for the Lord's form, because they are taking darshan of him, and that beauty, if they are able to appreciate, then if they were not envious, somehow the Lord, through Arjuna's arrow, purified them and took them back home, back to God. So Arjuna's arrows were actually nimitta bhavyam matra save sachin. He is actually the nimitta. The Lord used him for purifying all these personalities. So Prabhupada mentions also in the purport that these were people who were marginal. That means they were not like Shishupal, who were strongly, grossly envious of the Lord. Shishupal, he got impersonal liberation. After the Lord, with his Sudarshan, and after he crossed 100 offenses, then he merges into the Lord. Because he did not appreciate, no appreciation. Whereas even those who were in the army of the Kauravas, if they were neutral, that means they had some enmity maybe to the Pandavas, or maybe they were just warriors on behalf of the Kauravas, but they did not have any enmity or envy towards the Lord. So the Lord took them, purified them and took them. So this is the impact and effect of the beauty of the Lord. In this material world, when we get attracted by beauty, it is, they say beauty is skin deep. And we get attracted by a beautiful form or of a person, which is actually only the upper layer of skin, which is 3 millimeters. The most beautiful person also, just like they have beauty contests, beauty pageants, wherein somebody is crowned Miss Universe, somebody is crowned Mr. Universe. Even these beauty pageants are, you see them for the time being, but that beauty is also so temporary that it is only for a question of a few years. And the proof of it is that even if we see now, those who won the beauty pageants, say 30 years ago, 40 years ago, in old age, where did that beauty go? Whereas Krishna, he is always ever fresh and always youthful. Advaitam achyutam anadim ananta rupam adyam purana puruṣaṁ navayovanam cha. So this is what he is, navayovanam cha, always looks like a fresh youth. Srila Prabhupada says Krishna was 125 years on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He was around 125 years old, and still he looked as if he was a 16-year-old youth, fresh youth. So this is Krishna's beauty. There are very beautiful bhajans, there are very beautiful Vaishnava songs which describe about Krishna's beauty. One of them is Shri Vrajaraja Sutashtakam. Navanirada nindita kantidharam rasa sagar nagar bhupavaram shubhavan kimacharu shikhanda shikham bhaja Krishna nidhim brajaraja sutam. Krishna's complexion being that of a fresh rain cloud, and his crown adorned by a lovely peacock feather. He is auspiciously tilted to one side. Just worship Krishna, the dark jewel, the son of the king of Vraja. His eyebrows are arched rainbows, and his pure moon-like face, it belittles thousands of ordinary moons. And Krishna endowed with sweet smile and pleasant speech. One of the 64 qualities of the Lord, actually the first quality of the Lord which Rupa Goswami mentions in the Nectar of Devotion, is auspicious bodily features. First quality. So the Lord's bodily features are so attractive, so auspicious. They attract everybody. Whose forehead is surrounded by a fringe of wavy locks, whose earlobes are embellished with swaying shark-shaped earrings, and who is adorned with yellow silk embracing his charming hips. This is how the Lord's form is. In his feet he is wearing ankle bells. And that soft tingling of the ankle bells, it maddens all the bees. And his soles are marked. Even the description is given in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, how devotees are attracted by the footprints of the Lord. The footprints of the Lord, they are marked with so many auspicious symbols like thunderbolt, flag, fish. And the Lord has the Kaustuba Mani, Kaustuba gem on his chest. So in this way we find that, so when the devotees, they take darshan of the Lord, what do they experience? They experience a certain kind of sweetness. So Shripad Vallabhacharya of the Rudra Sampradaya, he has written a very beautiful bhajan which is Madhurashtakam, very famous also. Adharam madhuram vadanam madhuram nayanam madhuram hasitam madhuram hridayam madhuram gamanam madhuram madhuradhipaterakhilam madhuram. So he says that how the Lord's, his lips are sweet, his face is sweet, his smiling is sweet, his walking is also sweet. So this is the king of sweetness, that is Shri Krishna. Everything is madhuradhipate akhilam madhuram. Everything is sweet about the Lord of sweetness. So this is what the devotees, they experience. So much of sweetness. Kubja, when she sees the Lord, we see this description coming in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. When Kubja is, when Krishna and Balaram, they are walking towards Kamsa's arena, and Kubja, when she sees Krishna, so that time she becomes very attracted to him. And she is hunched back. Not only Krishna does the spinal surgery with her, but Krishna also accepts the invitation that she gives to come to her house privately. Private invitation. It's like a on-the-road proposal. Kubja is proposing to Krishna, and Krishna feels ashamed. Balaram is standing right next to him. He accepts. He says, I will come. Now after comes word, he actually, while he's staying in Mathura, he actually goes to Kubja's house. And Kubja is already decorated the inner chambers of her room. Now Kubja is not the same hunchbacked, ugly woman what she used to look earlier. Now she is looking extremely gorgeous, extremely beautiful, also by the mercy of Krishna. And she has prepared her room in such a way that an ordinary person would be very much afflicted by lusty desires. So now Krishna enters into the room, and he also goes with her on the bed. And then just by the touch of Krishna, she gets completely purified and begins worshipping him. Takes complete shelter of the Lord. This is how the Lord's association is. The beauty of the Lord is all attractive. Krishna, akarshiti iti Krishna. He attracts everybody. And anybody who comes in touch with him, he purifies them. So the gopis, Prabhupada mentions in many of the purports that the gopis, they were lustily attracted towards the Lord. Even to the point that many of them who had met Krishna before their marriage, even after their marriage, they were not able to forget him. But this is not mundane lust. As they come in touch with Krishna, as the sparsha or the association of the Lord, through the association, the conditioned nature is completely dissolved. And then pure love, it manifests in the heart. Just like in the example of Kubja. We see this happens even when Dhruva takes darshan of Narayan, because in the beginning, his motivation, which was to get a kingdom which was bigger than his grandfather, great-grandfather also, when he actually has darshan of the Lord, what does he say? He says, Swami Kritartosmi Varam Nayache. That I have the jewels, I have the diamond, but I am searching for broken pieces of glass. So this is the higher taste, param drishtvani vartate. So in our Krishna conscious life, that is our cultivation and that is our endeavor to pray to the Lord that somehow or other, because of so much of conditioning, we are unable to be always attracted to him. And in a conditioned state, so many times in the day, we are consciously forgetful of him. Many times we want to do like that. Because we have more faith in our own endeavor, in our own, on our own talents that we may be able to do. And we refrain from taking his shelter. But the Lord is not only so merciful, but he is also so attractive that through his beauty also he charms his devotees. And in this way, by the taking the Lord's darshan and by surrendering to this process of devotional service, we can also aspire to develop the attachment by which we can have the taste to take the Lord's darshan all the time. I remember in Brahmachari ashram once there was one devotee, he used to wake up at 3:30 and used to chant. And then one day, and then 4:15 he was a pujari also, so he used to go to address the Lord. One day 3:45 he used to move, and one day he while chanting he dozed off a little bit, and then suddenly woke up, and then he ran, and what his contemplation was. Even while he was running, I saw him. He was thinking, "Oh, I am going to miss my service." Another time he said, "I am going to miss the darshan of the Lord," and he was running like this. I said, "Wow, this is amazing that he's developed so much of attachment and attraction that he actually feels that he's going to miss something, although he does it every day." Although this is daily routine, still for a day, if he's late, he's feeling. So Srila Prabhupada, he mentions that Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grayam indriye sevonmukhe jivadau swayameva spuratyada. He says that it is not through our senses that we can understand Krishna. It is first we sevonmukhe jivadu, we engage the tongue in tasting Krishna Prasad and chanting his name. And by this service attitude towards the Vaishnavas and the Lord, then we can aspire to actually develop taste. As then Prabhupada quotes, Bhaktyamam vijanati yavanyaschashmi tattvata. He says, only my devotees can know me in truth. Because this is Swayameva Spuratyada, is the Lord who by his mercy, he reveals himself. And when he reveals himself, then the higher taste comes, by which the lower tastes become insignificant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So it's already 9 o'clock. So we'll end here. Granthraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.